All right, we're live. Good evening, lunatics. It's been a couple of weeks. Larry will be with us here shortly. He's having some technical difficulties. He's up in Chicago hanging out with the grandkids. So I probably ought to put these headphones on for when he comes. Oh, goodness. Been a wild couple of weeks. I was under the weather last week, and so that's why we didn't have a show. So I have been just working a lot. So when Larry gets in here, we'll talk a little bit about some changes we've made with the shop and bring y'all up to speed on that. And let's see. So, what do we have to catch up on? Wow, this market's weird. You know, our platform trucks are still doing good. Our van trucks, I mean, it's all respectable. Even the van trucks. You know, of course, platform's still killing it. But working at the shop every day, um, it's been slow, weird slow, and everybody's saying the same thing. Like in the in the trucking world, and I thought we were going to get a bump because a bunch of the traffic from the southeast has to come through West Virginia now because of 40 and 26 being closed. But I don't know. Maybe it's calm before the storm. Maybe it's getting ready to go crazy. So I guess well, let's start here. So we have some updates on the shop. Kyle and I are still working there, but we are not branding it Blue Ribbon anymore. It got a little bit too much to manage when we were already inside a working shop. So we just turned everything over to CAMS. So everything now that we do, alignments, diesel force, all that stuff is going to just be branded under CAMS Service Center now, Charleston, West Virginia. I'm trying to think if I can give the phone number without TikTok throwing a fit. But if you Google CAMS Service Center on Google Maps, Charleston, West Virginia, CAMS Service Center, or camservicecenter.com, you'll find the phone number. And so Kyle and I are still there, working every day. But we're just not doing Blue Ribbon branded work there. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. There's really nothing much to update other than all the work is the same. It's just different branding. I decided to have a cold beverage this evening. Somebody, what do you think about the Ford Aeromax for lunatic trucks? The problem with the Air, and I love the Aeromax, by the way. They were fantastic trucks. They rode good, they handled good, they were great trucks. But let's talk about the keyword were. I have the same problem exists with the Aeromax and the Marmon and the FLD Freightliner. The same problem exists trying to get parts. Okay, so we own trucks to do one thing. One, haul freight. That is the purpose of a Class 8 road tractor, is to hook to the kingpin of a trailer and haul freight and get paid to do it. That's the purpose. Well, we need that to be done efficiently, safely. And the problem with the FLD, the Aeromax, the Marmon, cabovers, right? I mean, the problem is getting parts. Okay. Well, when we're trying to haul freight to make money, I don't have time to sit around waiting for days. We have a 2000 Volvo, which is a amazing truck. 12.7 Detroit, 13 speed, 9 mile per gallon truck when the right person's behind the wheel. I needed a fan clutch for that truck. And there was one in the United States. This was 4 years ago. One. Um, well, that's a problem, right? When there's one, um, I shipped it from Florida to West Virginia to put on that truck. The current, the still current benefit of the C-120 Freightliner platform, that's the Columbias and Centuries, is that they were still being produced. The body and chassis were still being produced as late as 2020 or 21. So there's plenty of junkyard parts. There's plenty of parts in the distribution system that we don't have to worry about that. That's not the case for FLDs. That's not that, and it's beginning to be the case for 379s and like the older 379s and W9s. It's just it's an extra layer of difficulty and risk. And if you've ever spent 5 minutes watching us talk about operating a truck, then you will know that managing risk is an essential part of success in business. So um, if you choose a truck that has a higher risk profile and you're for that with either cash, lots of it, or a very, very reliable parts source, it's going to affect your ability to make a living. And this is especially true if you are a new owner operator. All right. Now, could I, as a almost 30-year member of the industry, and I've been operating trucks for 10 years, could I personally operate one of those trucks and do well? Sure, I could, but I have the experience to know what parts I'd need to keep on the truck with me versus what would be available. Um, I know how to work on the trucks, so I would have tools with me, and there's lots of things that I can do myself that I wouldn't have to hire someone to do for me. But if you're brand new and you don't have that experience, you don't have that knowledge, you don't have that skill, and you have to rely on someone else. Truck came in the shop today. Oh, we've seen some doozies in the shop this week. Holy crap. Dude came in today, 18 speed in a Peterbilt glider. I think it's a 14 model, 900 and some odd thousand miles, locked in gear. So we put it up on the rack, dropped the drain plug, and not much came out, about a quart. It holds 3.5 gallons. It's junk. I mean, it's the transmission is toast. So I called the customer and said, "Hey, man, here's the situation." He's like, "Man, I just put that in a month ago." Said he spent $14,000 for a transmission and I guess some other stuff. But but here he is. His driver's in a motel. His reefer trailer is sitting at the truck stop. We had to go put fuel in the reefer because he's got a load, a frozen load, and he's got a blown up transmission. Now, of course, it is completely reasonable for this guy to believe and assume that the people that put this transmission in this truck 1 month ago are going to be like, "Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Let us just send you another transmission." But what if that don't happen? What if it don't happen? What if they tell him to pound sand? What if they say, "Oh, well, you ran it out of fluid, so it's on you." Well, but a brand new transmission shouldn't have a leak. I mean, listen, I've watched this play out. Okay, had a guy drive the truck to us. I don't even know why. I don't think he'd ever been to us before, and I'm not sure where he came from. But I knew he was coming because I had heard talk of something about a wheel seal. So I saw the truck pull into the shop, and the mechanic hollered at me, and I walked over there, and he had taken the wheels and the brake drum off. And he goes, "Come here, I want you to look at this." And as I stood there, the brake drum was laying on the ground beside me, and I felt this heat. He's, "Yeah, don't touch that brake drum." And I look all over the frame, and there's fire extinguisher material. So he has a wheel seal put on. Something happened. It was left loose, but you could move the hub all around on the spindle. He said, "Yeah, I put the fire out, and I just, I would drive it until it started smoking, and then I'd stop and cool it off and brought it here." Well, he junked the spindle, so we had to call United Axle in. That was $1,850 just for the spindle that had bearings now welded to it, new hub, new brakes, new drum. I mean, it was a $4,000 bill or four. It was crazy. Now, what was terrifying was that um, he just kept driving it, and I said, "Man, do you understand that that thing could have flown off and killed somebody?" Oh yeah, So when it was done, um, I said, "Hey man, listen, please don't ever do that again." Oh yeah, it would have been a lot cheaper if I'd have just stopped. And I'm like, "No, I'm not talking about cheaper. I'm like, you could have killed somebody. That whole tire, brake drum, hub assembly was about this far from coming off. What do you think's going to happen to the two tires and two wheels and a brake drum and a hub that weighs what, at least 1,000 pounds, goes flying off into traffic somewhere? What should have been a $500 road call turned into a $4,000 bill that could have ended someone's life. Which is, I mean, well, yeah, we have got to stop playing around with these wheel ends. Um, uh, it's wheel seals and bearings and hubs are serious business. You know, and the way this industry treats wheel ends as if it's not a big deal, and it doesn't matter what torque spec you use, and it doesn't matter how you apply the hubs, and oh, I don't, it's the way we always done it. It's horrifying to know that there are people putting wheel ends together that shouldn't be allowed to change a tire, but yet they're putting wheel ends together. And when a wheel end goes wrong, look, you put a transmission in wrong, blows the transmission up, whatever. You do a U joint wrong and the drive shaft flies apart. I mean, it's going to tear some shit up. It's not going to kill anybody. It's not going to hurt anybody. But when you do a wheel end wrong and that thing comes apart, there was a trailer that showed up a week or two ago, and there were no wheels or tires on the left front of the trailer. And uh, there he is. Can you hear me? All right, hang on a minute. I got to get you brought in here. Hang on a second. I got to do some figuring and moving and correcting and click that and that. All right, gonna have to try to turn your phone sideways. That'll work. Well, kinda. He's getting there, folks. Is your phone on the Wi-Fi? It's a never dull moment on the Blue Ribbon Club podcast, people. There he goes. Oh, I lost your audio. I got no audio. I had you, and then you're gone.
Now.
There you go.
Okay. So I'm not using the Shure then. I'm just using the iPhone mic.
Oh,
Okay.
all right. Well, you can get that mic out of your face then. It's
Yeah.
kind of unnecessary.
You know, there's a lot of shit in my face right now. It's unnecessary. Okay.
Well,
All right.
I'm gonna answer another question while you're going with that.
Okay.
What brand of trucker GPS do you prefer? I don't. I used a Rand McNally for years, like the very first generation. And then for Christmas one year, Larry bought me one of the fancier ones, and I used it until it quit working because it was an Android. So of course it quit working. And when it broke, I just didn't use one. I used a map, and I had actually at that time I had a second phone that didn't have service on it. It was when I was driving Rocky's big race truck. And so I had it clipped up here, and I would hotspot it to my phone, and I would use Google Maps just to give me like traffic data. But you got to remember, I'm from the old school that reads road signs. Um, so I don't need a GPS to tell me where to turn left and right. Like when I set my trip plan, I already know where the left and right turns are. The GPS is there as just like a general reminder. Hey, buddy, hey, your turn's coming up in 6 miles or 3 miles or 10 feet. But a GPS never, ever made a route for me as a driver. I made the route either off of memory because I've been on every mile of every interstate in the United States of America. But I would build my route, and I didn't care if the GPS was wrong. It didn't really matter because I knew how to like read road signs. And there's a bunch of folks right now that map reading skills would be real handy for y'all in Western North Carolina because 40's closed, 26 is closed, and there's a bunch of people just trying to follow a GPS because they can't pick up a map book and go, okay, well, this road is closed. See that's where the algorithm of technology is not your friend because it can't figure out, oh, 40's closed. Like it doesn't know. And Rand McNally only updates their maps once a year. And so there's a bunch of y'all, um, you know, listen, Western North Carolina is a place right now that you do not want to get lost. Because you're going to end up somewhere where the road used to be but doesn't exist anymore because of a little thing called Hurricane Helene. Listen, as a 20 some year driver, I guess I drove for 25. It is horrifying to me. Y'all, we passed one on I live on a state route. Just right out in front of my house here is a West Virginia state route. Okay. But y'all, it is crooked and skinny and steep. And my wife and I were going somewhere the other morning, and here comes a big truck. And now there's some bull haulers that are out the ridge from me about 10 miles. It's not a surprise to see them because they're up here for a reason. But when I see a reefer trailer coming up that hill, I'm like, oh boy, Somebody's following their GPS. This is and Larry can testify because he's been here. This is a road that you do not want to be dragging a 53-foot trailer on. Okay, now I'm gonna have to. I gotta fix this again because it changed the deal. Oh, what'd I do? Oh, I have been forced to use a Windows machine at the shop, and it's got my muscle memory all jacked up because you have to do things differently on a Mac than you do on a. I'm about to revolt. So anyway, well, somebody asked a GPS question that got me running off on a tangent. We always tell new members of the master class that if you want an ass chewing, all you have to do is say the words "my GPS said," and my the top of my head opens up and fire begins to flow out. When you get yourself in a stupid position, well, my GPS said that's a surefire guaranteed way to get your ass tore up. Can you go into detail what Flashpoint does and the cost per mile? Well, I don't have personal data. Richie bought some and was supposed to test it, but that's like the least reliable scientific process in the history of man. It is a cetane booster, so it's kind of a performance improver, and it also has an emulsifier in it. Now, honestly, I don't really care performance, all that. What I do care about is that emulsification, because water in diesel is bad. Okay. And water in diesel is what leads to algae and what leads to asphaltene. So it's 80. Oh gosh, I'm going to go to line. Oh gosh, I think it's $85 a gallon, but give me a minute to consult the book of knowledge here and I will tell you exactly. But I know that it treats 1,920 gallons. So, if it's, there we go. Let me get this to download and I'll tell you exactly. Waiting, downloading, 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 downloading.
Chris, while you're doing that, side note here, I'm not going to have access to TikTok, so I can't read any of the questions.
Okay, I'll read them to you. Okay,
Okay.
$84 a gallon. Okay, so I'm going to get the mobile BSE 9000 and I'm going to divide 84 by 1,920. That is 4.3 cents per gallon. And if we get 7 miles per gallon, we're talking about 0.006 cents per mile for Flashpoint. Oh, here's a good one. Pepe on TikTok. What do you think about deleting your truck? Listen, brother, I empathize. I do. I empathize with the nightmare that people deal with this godforsaken, useless,
You have the
worthless
password for this internet?
emission system.
I don't have either one.
It is absolutely terrible. But it is what it is. Okay. So I'm going to go back to something that I said in the beginning, and that is success in business is about managing risk. Okay. Well, you have to accept that trucks built after 2008 carry an extra load of risk on them because of the emission system. So much so that if a truck is built between 2008 and 2015, we won't touch it. I won't put it in my system. I won't buy it. Those are what we call parts trucks. They're useless. So if the question is, can you delete a truck? Sure, you can. right? People do it every day. If the question is, should you delete a truck? The answer is no. All right. And here's a couple of reasons the answer is no. Number one, the market has provided us with options. We can run the Pittsburgh Power Catalyst, which reduces soot. I've got a truck now that is in the shop in D rate, but the soot level is zero.
Well, I don't
Okay.
have the
And it's
password.
probably been
I think that is the
200,000
password.
That's the
miles.
name of it, not the password.
I sent a message.
I'll send.
It's been 200,000 miles at least since we started, since the last time we cleaned the filters. Um, Larry, I've got you muted until you figure out what you need to do. Um, uh, so our soot level was zero. It turns out, I think it's some kind of software glitch that I think we're fixing with programming. Okay. But the market has given us DPF alternatives. The market has given us Pittsburgh Power Catalyst. The market has given us, the aftermarket, the free market has given us alternatives that help make these emission systems manageable. The risk level that you carry, if you get the wrong road pirate on the wrong day and they figure out that that truck is deleted, they are going to shut you down and put you out of service. And it is what it is. Okay. The road pirates are out there to one, protect their jobs, right? They just don't want to get fired. So they're going to do exactly what they're told to do. They don't exist to protect and serve. They pretty much exist to harass and intimidate. That's why they're there, and they will do anything that is possible to make sure they don't lose their job, because that's their only purpose in life, is to protect their job. And so if they have that opportunity to shut you down, they're going to shut you down, and you're done. It's over. Pittsburgh Power told me of a story where they built a glider kit, Western Star, I believe it was, and the dude got pulled into a Pennsylvania scale, and they opened the hood and they saw a pre-emissions system, or I'm sorry, a pre-emissions engine in a newer truck, and they would not let that truck leave until Pittsburgh Power sent all of the proper paperwork to prove that that truck was exempt under the rules. All right. And they don't care. They don't care if you sit there until you rot. Until they get their paperwork, you're not moving. So we do not delete trucks, no matter how tempting. And trust me, it's tempting. Now, as I tell you all of this, I literally just got a text message that says your truck is good. I don't know what he did to it. It's some kind of software update. I don't know. I'll get a report and I'll give it to you when I figure it out. But I was convinced, because the truck went to 55 mile an hour D rate. And here's a helpful tip that I did not realize. You only go into 5 mile an hour D rate when you stop. So keep on trucking, right? The driver alerted me. When was that? What is today? Today's Friday. Was it last Friday? Yeah. Last Friday, or maybe it was Thursday night. He said, "Hey man, I'm at 55 mile an hour D rate." So we went to a shop in Virginia. Dude did some stuff, tried to force a regen, got the lights to go away. And I'm like, well, bring it to me, because I sure as hell would rather have it in my possession than somewhere else. So paid the guy $450. And immediately went back to 55 mile an hour D rate. And Chris Dolan, that owns Cam's, told me, he was like, well, just keep driving. Don't stop. So he made it back. And as soon as he pulled in the parking lot to drop his trailer, it went to 5 mile an hour D rate. But apparently Herbie, the WonderCon, Peaches and Herb, have repaired the truck. So now it's good. But it's just risk, right? And listen, I get it. I get wanting to delete them. I get wanting to tell the government to piss off. I totally get it. I hate them. I despise the EPA with every fiber of my being. There is no more useless gaggle of thieves and morons on this planet than the Environmental Protection Agency. So you have two choices: run a pre-emissions truck or run one and make it right. Right? It is what it is. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And I also hate watching. I mean, I watch these guys in the shop just pull their hair out trying to figure these stupid things out. Because it's a nightmare. It is an absolute nightmare to deal with. But yet we somehow managed to get it through. All right, let me go back and look at these comments. Shops are slow because too many operators don't have any money and praying their equipment doesn't break down. Well, that's for sure. Listen, I don't know if you all follow Check Engine Chuck on TikTok, but you should be. He's not a diesel guy. He doesn't work on big trucks, but dude's an absolute technical genius. And his job, thus the name, Check Engine Chuck, his job is to go from shop to shop to shop and do diagnostics. He doesn't turn the wrenches. He doesn't fix anything. He is so good, probably one of the best on the planet at doing diagnostics. I mean, it's just, dude, if you're a nerd like me, it's amazing to watch this guy work. So last week there was a little kerfuffle that popped up on TikTok where a guy made a post that I don't necessarily disagree with. And the big tagline at the top said he was tired of lazy mechanics. Well, that poked the bear and kicked the hornet's nest right there. But this guy was some sort of employee adjuster for a warranty company. All right. And I can empathize with his position. It is very difficult to get a proper diagnosis done on a vehicle these days. Okay, because they don't teach that stuff. You don't learn how to be check engine Chuck in automotive school or diesel school. That is not what they teach you. And so from his side of the industry, being this warranty administrator, whatever he is, he was like, look, your job is to diagnose the vehicle, but you don't want to do that. And he gave this example of where this adjuster, which warranties are basically just insurance policies. That's all they are. And this adjuster showed up and there was, I don't know, the engine was bad. Okay. And the guy said, well, tell me your diagnostic. And the guy just pointed at it and said that. And he's like, oh, okay, but like, why? Not my problem. You're the adjuster. You figure it out. Okay. So then Chuck made an amazing response to this video that is really more relevant to us in the trucking industry. Number one, warranties are like the vaccine of the trucking industry. You have a bunch of people that don't understand how they work, think that they're magic, and will make all of your problems go away. They're not any of those things. It is an insurance policy that you are wagering whether or not it will work for you. And more often than not, it has to not work for you. Think about what I just said.
It has to not work for you, so it works for them.
More often than not, the statistical probability must be that the warranty does not work for you. Because if that ever flips, the warranty company goes out of business. So the only way the warranty, just think of it from a business perspective, okay? I'm going to get into I'm going to get into business. I'm going to start a warranty company. Okay, well, I'm going to take in these premiums and I'm going to pay out repairs. The very minute that the money that I pay out in repairs is greater than the amount of money I bring in premiums, I'm out of business.
Can you say hurricane insurance in Florida right now?
So number one, warranties are not magic. It's a bet. You're taking a bet on whether or not you have a catastrophic event of some sort, and you're betting that maybe they'll fix it for you. Okay. So having been a truck operator, B, manager of a fleet and maintenance coordinator, and now C, working and operating a shop. Okay. So I've been on three sides of this thing. Warranties are worth exactly $0 to me. I've seen it as an owner operator. I've seen it as a fleet manager. And now I have seen it working in a shop. Everybody hates warranties except the people selling the warranties, and the people believe in the fairy tale that the warranty is just this magical thing that's just going to make all your problems go away. All right. Because I have watched, and you listen, you want to live a nightmare? You want to live hell on earth? Have a vehicle come onto your property and them say, hey, I've got this warranty. Oh, God. Because you're going to be there. I mean, hell, if, like, let's take the guy with the busted transmission. How do I feel about the NTP warranty? The same way I feel about them all. They're useless. Useless. $0. I would never, ever spend a penny on a warranty. But let's take this old boy today that came in with a broken transmission. Now take about the fact that, you know, it's a month old and he probably wants the people that either built it or installed it to cover it. We called the Peterbilt dealer. They got one sitting down there on the shelf. Okay. And there's a guy at our shop that if he starts at 7 o'clock in the morning on a clutch or a transmission, it's going to be back together by 5. Well, hell, he leaves at 3:30, so it'd be done by 3:30. I've watched him do a transmission in a day. Okay. So you roll in the lot and your transmission's busted and you're there early enough, or maybe we have to start tomorrow morning, but tomorrow morning we're going to start and you're going to be running by the end of the day. Now, yeah, you're going to have to stroke about an $8,500 check for parts and labor to put an 18 speed in, but you're moving in a day. These warranty companies, oh, you got to check this and stop, get approval. You got to check that, stop, and get approval. You got to check that, stop, and get approval. It's days. I've seen it be weeks trying to get approval for repairs through these warranty companies. If y'all wasn't so fucking broke that you could just pay for it, we'll have you fixed in a day or two. But these warranty companies will drag your shit out for a week. I saw one time take a month and a half. And by that time, the guy's truck was repossessed and he was out of business. Now, was that completely the warranty company's fault? No. He should have had enough savings, but he didn't. And he was out of business, waiting on the warranty company to approve a repair. So here's one. NTP paid $7,500 of my $10,000 bill at Freightliner. Don't sound too shabby to me. Okay, great. Congratulations. You're one of the many that get fucked by these warranty companies. I mean, listen, prostitution's illegal. I mean, if you think about the things in life that are illegal, but warranty companies that fuck people on a daily basis, and you'll have one come along, man, I loved it. They fucked me and it was great. I loved every minute of it.
There has to be a story every once in a while of it working. That's how they sell them.
Marketing, free marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marcus, you need to send NTP an email and tell them that they owe you for marketing for their bullshit product that sucks and has no value. I hate warranties. Here's what I would rather you do.
Listen, I got a better now. It's the condom of the trucking business. It makes you feel good when you put it on, but it has a hole. It could have a pinhole in it.
Mm-hmm.
And but it feels good when you to think that you're protected. Oops.
Yeah. Well, listen. This is I heard somebody say this one time. If federal tax and state tax withholding did not exist, where they take a little bit out of your check every week, and you had to write a check to the government every month or every week, right? They gave you 100% of the money that you earned, but you knew that at the end of every week you had to write a check to Washington.
That exists. It's called 1099.
Right. It was self-employment. Okay. But I'm just saying that your behavior would be much, much different. All right. So if you had to write a check, a literal $8,000 check for that NTP warranty, rather than paying it $100 a week or whatever they take it out of your settlement, be a completely different story. Because if you had people writing $8,000 checks, but this is the United States of America in 2024, and your average American can't even fathom writing an $8,000 check for anything because they only know how to pay on payments, it'd be a completely different story. I'm not going to take $8,000 out of my left pocket and give it to the warranty company so the warranty company can take $7,500 and put it back in my right pocket without paying me some kind of interest for the money that I have on loan with them. I would rather you put a $7,500 repair on a high interest credit card, as dumb as that is. I'd rather you do that. What I'd rather you do, if you're going to get in business, is don't act like an employee truck driver. I go to work, save up money, pay cash for a truck, have a savings account, and when the truck breaks, not if, when the truck breaks, you just write a check for it. Right? I mean, I talked to a guy a couple of weeks ago. Good dude. Okay. Found us through the podcast, so he's probably going to hear this at some point. Sorry, but he submitted an application for mentoring. He's an owner operator, has his own truck, been at Landstar a month. I'm like, I had an interview with him. I'm like, okay, great. Let's talk about it. So I get the, hey, what truck you got, and do you have a payment, and what's your revenue so far? And we just talked about that kind of stuff. And I got a little profile of him. And I said, okay, now how much cash do you have? He said, I got $5,000. Okay. $1,400 a month truck payment. It was $37,000 on the truck. Not terrible. Okay. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, for the dumb shit that people sign up for in this industry, a $1,400 a month payment is not unreasonable. But I said, listen, man, here's what I need you to understand, because the story was he had paid cash for a truck, an International, I believe it was, got his own authority, paid all of the fees and all the insurance down payments and all that stuff. And then he said, well, man, that truck did this and that truck did that. And the truck had this problem and the truck had that problem. And so he traded it in on a 19 Freightliner, I believe it was. And I said, listen, brother, I've got to get you to understand first and foremost, above all, that you are broke. You're broke. You're running a, $200,000 to $300,000 a year business, and you have $5,000 in the bank. You are driving a time bomb, which is a 2019 Freightliner. And all that stuff that other truck did to you, this one is getting ready to do to you also, because that's what trucks do. Trucks break in the most bizarre unfathomable ways and always at the wrong time. Your windshield wipers don't quit on a sunny day. Your windshield wipers quit in the middle of a monsoon. That's what happens to windshield wipers. Air dryers don't seize up in the summertime. They seize up in the wintertime and they freeze your brake system and now you have no air, right? Trucks have a way of just screwing up your life at the most inopportune time possible. So it's not it. Well, if my truck breaks, no, it's when your 2020. Hell, we put a radiator in a 2024 Freightliner the other day. Let me say that one more time. We put a radiator in a 2024 Freightliner. Well, Chris, you're a private shop. Why are you putting a radiator in a 24 truck that could be replaced under warranty? Because he called the dealer first. And they said it was going to be a week before they could get to him. And he called me. He was like, "Hey, can you get a radiator?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "When can you put it in?" I said, "Tonight." "How much?" $2,800. Done. And he came in and we got the radiator and the night shift guy was putting in and he was running by midnight and back on the road. He gave up a free radiator in a 2024 truck and paid us somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,800 because we could do it right now. Now, if he's going to sit around waiting with his thumb up his ass, watching, what is it, Law and Order SVU in the waiting room marathon, and wait for a week, how much revenue would they have lost? And there was a team in this truck. I don't know what they were hauling. But if dude is willing to give up a free radiator and pay an independent shop $2,800 to put a radiator in, I'm gonna go ahead and guess they probably had some high dollar freight. They need to keep that thing moving.
He also understands the time value of money that none of these warranty companies will warranty for.
Right. It's the and I'm waiting for there's another great TikTok account called Royalty Auto down in Kingsland, Georgia. Great account, great guys. But they're collecting data. They've got a guy whose job it is. Can you imagine? I cannot imagine a worse job on earth than to be the guy that works at a shop and his only job is to deal with warranty companies. I would do something bad to myself if that was my job. But apparently he's running a spreadsheet right now. And all he's doing, name of warranty company, amount of time on the phone. Name of warranty company, amount of time on the phone. Name of warranty company, amount of time on the phone. And at some point, they're going to publish this. And I can't wait. Because the phrase that Larry Long just said, the time value of money. There's a bunch of y'all, your business is bleeding cash and not making enough money because you're so obsessed with making $5 a mile that you're not making enough rate per day. I'm going to just pause and let y'all think about that for a second. You're so obsessed with rate per mile that you can't imagine that you're losing money on rate per day. $5 a mile per 200 miles is not helping you. $2 a mile for 700 miles is better.
It requires the same thought process to understand what you just said as it does for the guy to forego a free radiator and come in and pay somebody out cash to get it done and get it done right now. That requires the same logic to understand both those situations.
Yeah.
I spent all day today watching truck drivers argue about the laws of physics that they do not exist. Because I was around them all day today on I-65 getting up here. And professional truck drivers do not understand the laws of physics. They think that those are suggestions, that the laws of physics don't exist, but they do. This is why you run into each other when you're so close to each other and you tailgate each other. But the laws of money also exist, and the time value of money is a critical lesson to learn if you're going to stay in business.
Yeah.
Let me circle back. Let me circle back to the delete for a second, because if doing the deletion eliminated the problem and took all the risk away, it'd be one thing. But it doesn't. Just opens up a door to a whole new set of risks.
Yep.
Who's the DPF guy that's got the Southern accent on TikTok? He just had one just the past day or two where somebody came in there and had to put an engine in because of delete.
Yeah.
Spent $38,000 fixing a delete because the delete did not fix the problem. It just only blew the engine up.
Yeah. Whether y'all like it or not, and again, I'm with you. I don't like it, but these engines, and listen, the DD15 is an amazing engine. I mean, just design wise, it's a fantastic engine. But y'all, they're designed to have these emission systems, and when y'all go monkeying around with that, yeah, you're going to get rid of one problem. It's not going to derate on you anymore. That's for sure. Now, when the pistons fly through the hood, or you crack the head and you hydrolock it because you let Billy Bob delete it, you've traded one set of problems for another. So if you can't handle what it takes to run an emissions truck, you ought not buy an emissions truck. And that goes back to where y'all broke ass bastards. The only way you can afford to get a truck's on payments, and nobody will give you payments on a 2007 Freightliner because you're broke. You don't have any money, and because you're broke, you shouldn't be in business, right? So, don't buy an emissions truck if you can't handle taking care of an emissions truck. They're a handful, but you can make money with them. There's a comment on where'd it go? I was on YouTube. Something about, can I make money running Texas? Listen, y'all, you can make money doing anything. Y'all have met Phil, okay? Phil makes money that a bunch of y'all only dream of.
Why is Texas any different than anywhere else? What's the real question?
Because they want to stay home.
So that's like driving in New England. The roads are the same. The exits are the same width. What's the difference? So what's the real question?
It's, can I do, here's the real question. Can I do what I want to do and only what I want to do?
Yeah.
And make money.
It's got nothing to do with Texas. It's, can I do the piddly ass things that I want to do and stay in business?
Right.
That's the real question. And the answer to that question is probably no.
Well, the answer is yes, but most people are not willing to do what it takes to get there. Right. That's the bigger issue. If you want to be an owner operator and you want to achieve that goal of, not working very hard and setting yourself up, especially, that's great. But you're going to work like an animal and go everywhere you don't want to go for 3 to 5 years. And that's what nobody wants to hear. So it's like, oh, can I make it running regional Texas? Sure, eventually. But you're going to work, if you're going to survive long enough to achieve that dream. When y'all see these big houses going up and down the road, the big 120-inch sleepers that cost $10,000 an inch, those are people, by and large, I would say the majority of them, that spent years doing things that you are not willing to do. Now you see their big shiny truck and it costs $350,000 but go talk to any one of them and you'll find out the extraordinary lengths that they went to get to that position where they have a sleeper that costs $10,000 an inch. If you're not willing to do that, best not run on over to Bolt Custom Trucks and talk to them about building you a truck, because those people make insane. Oh my God. I've seen their freight bills. Y'all, it's an insane amount of money. You know, but are you willing to put in the work that it's going to take to achieve that? Well, Larry,
Mm-hmm.
my 17-year-old is carpooling with someone and they're having car trouble. So you're going to have to carry the show for about 5 minutes while oh, wait a minute. She said, wait, dude's calling his dad. Okay. We'll continue on until I'll keep a running tally on what the team they've gone to a place here locally called Fear on the Farm, where they all go into a barn and get the shit scared out of them in October. Oh, listen, I've got a great story for y'all that I'll tell on her.
Is that code word for Freightliner dealership?
So a couple of months ago, my daughter, she's 18, bought her first car. And I made it clear, hey, we're paying cash. Okay. We are absolutely not doing all the dumb shit that mom and dad did. You are going to pay cash for your first car. And I found her a 1999 Ford Taurus that is mint for $1,200. Okay. So she buys the car. She's been driving it now 2 or 3 months. She calls mom the other night because, see, we didn't have a financial report a couple of weeks ago, and this is why. She calls mom. She wasn't feeling good. And she's like 45 miles away. She's at a gas station. She didn't feel good. And I'm like, sister, buy some Tums, drink some water, and drive your ass home, because we're not coming after you because your belly hurts, right? That ain't happening. So reluctantly, she decides to drive home. About 15 minutes later, I get a phone call. I'm in the median. I'm like, you're where? Well, our friends in Huntington, West Virginia have decided to completely destroy Halgier Boulevard and put this useless center thing in its concrete. Well, she thought she's in a turn lane. She was not. And so she basically parks this Taurus up on top of a concrete block, sitting on the catalytic converter. She is losing her shit. It's completely having to come apart. All right. So dad's got to get her calmed down. I'm trying to find a wrecker. Well, a couple of good old boys come over and they pull her out. And so mom's like, full guilt trip mode now. Cause mom's like, nope, we're going after her. I'm like, okay. So we get in the truck, we drive down there, and I'm going to drive the car home. And the car's not hurt at all. But I put my arm around her and I said, darling, this is why we buy $1,200 cars for teenagers. Because I talked to a guy today whose teenage boy had a wreck, and they want $1,400 a month for insurance for this young man on a new car.
Yeah, I told you that when you were talking about hers. I said, good thing you got a girl, not a boy.
Well, I got one that's going to be 16 in June.
Yeah, well, you better have your money saved up for that one, okay?
I don't know.
Plus, he acts a lot. Plus, on top of that, he acts a lot like you. So he's going to be.
I have a very firm policy. I do not pay car insurance for teenagers. So I've made them all aware, down to the one that just turned 10. Y'all gonna find out that dad does not pay insurance for teenagers. So you better get that job. because
He's going to need a good job.
yeah, daddy ain't paying that bill, Hoss. Okay. I'll be walking.
I was never so glad to see my son reach the age 21 and then get married.
Oh, yeah. Oh, let's see here. Let me roll back through the comments on the YouTube. Oh, God, TikTok. Why do we do this every week? We have detected inactivity during your live. No, you haven't. Oh, my. For the love of all that is good and kind. I have to do this stupid puzzle nonsense every week. We've detected inactivity. Well, we're clearly active. Okay, let me go back to why. I love KG. I took my truck into Freightliner because the quality control valve kept surging. It was still under warranty, so I wanted them to replace it. Of course, they could never duplicate the problem. That's about right. I saw one today. It was a Packard. Packard. Makes me throw up a little bit every time I say the word Packard. But it had a code for the crankcase ventilation filter. And so I looked one up, and I don't know, it was $100 or $150 or whatever. But I've seen the crankcase ventilation on the DD15. Well, y'all, that's a 30-minute job. Not on a Packard, it's not. It's about a 4-hour job to change the crankcase ventilation thingamabob dim widget on the stupid Packard.
Pretty good job on the Mercedes too, by the way.
They put, of course, they put it right between the frame rail and the motor. You know, so you've got this much room and wiring harnesses and zip ties and all this foolishness and nonsense. So I tried to look up, well, what's the labor time? Right. And I found this technical bulletin. It was some kind of recall technical bulletin from Kenworth on a Packard. And it says warranty will pay 1.7 hours. Bullshit. And that's another thing that technicians hate about warranty companies is I took that 1.7 and I looked at old boy and I'm like, all right, it's a 4-hour job. If the warranty company's willing to pay 1.7, that means it's at least a 4-hour job to change. So I just went, okay, 4 hours. I mean, it's just the I'm not a violent man. I really ain't.
Yes, you are.
But if there were,
I know that to be not true.
If there were a bunch of, automotive engineers standing in front of a big hole and there was a Gatling gun, I would pull the trigger. Because I swear to God, they do it on purpose. They're building this Peterbilt, whatever it is, and hey, man, where should we put the crankcase ventilation? Let's put it up here on top so it's easy for the tech to get to. No. Put it down there in the frame rail where they'll bust all their knuckles and hurt their feeling and take 3 times longer to do it than our competition.
You got to pull the motor to get to it.
Yeah. I saw one. It was on a car, and a dude was doing this TikTok from underneath with the transmission removed. Our friends at Toyota put a starter underneath the intake plenum. And so he's looking at the back of the engine, right? And normally, your starter's down here or down here. No, it's dead center on top of the flywheel. And to change the starter, you have to remove the intake on whatever Toyota engine this was.
I put a battery in my little race car this summer, and you have to remove the right fender to do it.
I had a little Oldsmobile, and I noticed slow starting. I'm like, well, let me put a battery in this thing, and I opened the hood. I'm like, the hell did they do with the battery? Back seat. And
under the back seat.
I had to go to the internet, and they're like, well, where's the battery on your 2002 Oldsmobile? Under the back seat. What a great place for it.
Keeps it warm.
Yeah. How can you? Oh, here's a good question from Hummingbird. How can you tell if a truck is deleted? It's actually more difficult on the newer ones to see it from the outside, because what they will do is they will take the filters out of the truck and get a big hammer and beat the guts out of the filter. So there's basically nothing there but a canister, just a metal canister, but there's nothing. You could see through it. So they'll beat the guts out of them, and then they'll
See
change
what the
all.
DEF usage is.
Right. Well, pretty much you'd have to plug a computer up to it to really know. Now on like the 14 liters, Bryson on TikTok says they do sound different, right? Because there's no because DPF trucks don't have a muffler. The one box and all that stuff, it acts as the muffler, right? So they will sound different. On the 14 liters, I found this out the hard way. We bought a truck sight unseen from a BCO. Don't ever do that. $10,000. It's Richie's truck. Richie bought it, so it's Richie's truck now. And so Larry sees it on Facebook, tells the guy, "Bring it to me. I'll give you 10 grand." So the guy shows up. Larry hands him 10 grand, drives off. Now, what should have been our first clue, Larry meets me in Indianapolis for an orientation. And I said, "Hey, I need to put all my stuff in this truck." And he's like, "Yeah, you don't want to do that." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, you can't lock the door." And I said, "Why can't you lock the door?" And he said, "Well, there's a piece of metal hanging out of the bottom of the door, and that's how you open the door."
Yeah.
So this truck had been truck drivered to death. Well, anyway, so I get in it and
isn't it the one that had the dead mouse shit in it too?
No. That's the one Travis is driving now. That's the one he bought $10,000 sight unseen that had lived in a barn for a little while. And I found out right about this time of year when it first started getting cold, and I cranked that defroster up, and I was instantly covered in mouse hair and excrement and mouse house. Yeah, it was awesome. But I start driving this truck, and I went down into like the Carolinas, and I'm coming up Fancy Gap, and I got 42,000 in the box, and I'm doing 55, and I'm like, how the hell am I going this fast? And I wasn't even trumping on it all that much, so I just went ahead and mashed her to the floor to see what happened. And I start picking up speed, and I called Larry, and I'm like, I think old boy's put a tune in this truck. Well, about a week later, the clutch started making awful noises. So we took it into the Detroit shop, and they said, "Man, this thing's deleted." Well, they had removed the variable geometry turbo, put the old variable, the venerable 1702, and cranked her up to about 750 horse. And so we had put a driver in it. And I said, "Listen, man, I need you to understand that your right foot is going to decide one of two things. You're either A, going to get 4 miles to the gallon, or B, you're going to get 8 miles to the gallon. And I'm going to instantly know what you're doing with your right foot." Well, first 2 tanks, 4 mile a gallon. I'm like, "Dude, you're going to have to get out of it." Now, if y'all remember back in the older episodes, we told this story that he called me on my son's birthday and told me that his gear shift had just gone through the floor. And I said, "Son, that's not possible." To which there was a bunch of expletives, and I said, "Send me a video." And indeed, he was backing into the dock, and the belt housing snapped. And so that transmission did about 3 loops inside the frame rails, and it sucked that gear shifter right out of his hand, and down through the floor it went.
Yes, it did.
So that was the end of the 750 horsepower Detroit. See, what we're trying to get y'all to understand is there is always a level of fuck around and find out. When you start monkeying with stuff, you are going to eventually find out the consequences of that decision. And so cranking a 14 liter up to 750 horse, which it will do, comes with consequences like a broken bell housing and a gear shift getting sucked out of a driver's hand and engine swaps. And boy, that was about a $30,000 event right there. So, Y'all just need to understand. What are the shortfalls of mixing kerosene with diesel to prevent gelling? Come on, y'all. They make anti-gel for a reason. We don't need all this hillbilly. Sean Money.
I will tell you from experience that I owned a Mercedes diesel automobile, and I would put 1 gallon of gasoline in the tank and then top it off with diesel. That's how I kept it from gelling. And some old German engineer told me that. Siegfried or whatever his name was. Yeah. But it worked. I never gelled. But he said, be careful. Just put 1 gallon, then the rest. So I would pull in there you see people watch me. I'd pull into a fuel stop. I'd pull to the gasoline pump and put 1 gallon in, then I'd move the car over and fill it up with diesel.
For the lawyers listening, I should say the views of Larry Long expressed on the podcast do not necessarily represent the view. Please don't do that.
Hey, that was I experienced that for years.
Oh gosh, there's going to be some truck drivers.
But you got to make sure you keep that dilution very, very, very weak. Okay.
Yeah. There's going to be some truck driver bobtailing up in front of the pilot at the gas pumps. What are you doing? Man, this guy on the internet said I should put gas in here to keep from gelling. Sean Money. I'm a company driver on a Texas regional route, and I like it. Just wondering if I could be an owner operator running the same route. Look,
brother, the same guy asked about making money in Texas.
Yeah, look, anything's possible. What you got to understand, though, is when you're in business, you're last. You're dead last. You're the last person on earth that gets paid, if you ever get paid, right? The fuel company's going to get paid, and the maintenance company's going to get paid. If you put a driver in the truck, they're going to get paid. Everybody gets paid before you. And most people that are in a company driver position, when you're a company driver, you get paid first, right? You always get paid. Doesn't matter whatever happens, the driver always gets paid. Well, that's a very difficult bridge to cross, to go from employee to business owner when you understand you can't get paid first, right? Unless it's a very small salary, right? That you can kind of guarantee yourself and live on. But you cannot get paid first, because if you do, you'll be one of the 95% that fail in the first 2 years. The business failure statistics in the trucking are worse, or as bad as, well, probably worse than any other business or any other industry, because you have people that are like, I know how to drive a truck. I can shift gears. I can back into docks. I can turn the steering wheel. So surely I can be an owner operator. And that could not be further from the truth. Just because you can drive does not mean you can be an owner operator. It's just not the case. And listen, there are people, unfortunately, that just will never be able to achieve that level of being an owner operator. It's unfortunate, but it's just the truth. We've seen people come in and they go, oh, I've seen how the sausage is made and I don't want to eat any more sausage. I'm like, okay, well, thanks for coming. Because it's difficult. It's very, 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 very hard. It's worth it if you do it right. If you do it wrong, it'll destroy every part of your life and your finances, and that's what pisses me off and makes me so angry at these lease companies that lure ignorant people with no financial understanding, no economic understanding. And sure, you can be an owner operator. Just sign this paper right here. Well, they're getting paid, they're making bank, and the owner operator's starving to death. It makes me so angry. I could just scream. because of these lease companies. And then, of course, my comment section will fill up with all the morons that tell me, it's great for me. I'm a lease operator. I would love to. Somebody mentioned the other day that I should do what that financial guy, Caleb Hammer, does, where he gets people in and goes through all of their finances. I'd love to do that for truck drivers. I'd love for a bunch of y'all just give me all your books, give me all your settlements, and let me go through it, and then be willing to get live on the internet and let me go through your numbers. Oh, that would be entertainment gold. Absolute entertainment gold. Who can I sell my truck to on consignment? I mean, I've heard of it happening. I would just put it on Facebook Marketplace and sell it. Bill says he's done 34 loads this year. He's probably going to need to slow down. Oh, yeah. Hack Nation did a video on TikTok. I remember this, explaining why Cummins pops head gaskets after being deleted. And 14 liters will do that also. Bill says, Larry, you need to tell him about the shelf behind you.
What about it?
Oh, you're in the bourbon barn.
I am in my son's party barn. And that's some of his bourbon collection behind me. Yeah. That's a little of it.
Yeah. I remember being in there one night. It was a
I remember you being in here one night, vaguely.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
I remember us trying to leave that night.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you face planting in the snow, and having to pick you up, me and Carl having to pick you up and carry you in the house.
I don't remember that part.
Oh. Let's see, where are we at? We're an hour and 11 minutes in. Let's see. Let me make sure I got all the Facebook comments. Somebody talking about warped heads on the new Freightliners. You know, no truck is free of problems. They all are going to have some kind of problem, and it's going to be weird, and it's going to come when you absolutely don't need it to happen. You know, it's just, but you have to be prepared for it. You have to be ready. You have to know at some point this truck is going to break. And am I going to be prepared for it? But I've seen guys come in that can't afford a hotel room. You know?
If you think you're buying a truck that's not going to give you a problem, you're absolutely going to be disappointed. And buying the warranty is not going to solve that problem.
Nope. It's probably going to make your problem worse.
You can't buy yourself out of that situation. You're going to buy a piece of equipment that has thousands of moving parts. The odds of those moving parts not breaking are slim to none. And so you're going to have to understand that that's to be expected. That's what's called a maintenance account.
A big one. I mean, listen, I'm going to tell you, you need to have, at minimum, I would say these days, with as terrible as parts and service are, 20 grand. I would not feel comfortable operating a truck today without 20,000 cash in the bank to handle whatever's coming. I think Larry's phone died because he just disappeared on me. Um, and I see it. Oh, there he is. He's back. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. You are back. I'm gonna have to. Should have you back on. Well, maybe. Yep, there you are. You're back on YouTube now. I mean, you could say that, well, you work in a shop every day, so you see the worst of the worst. But I mean, it ain't no different than the 6 years I've spent running this fleet. Just just weird stuff happens, and you can do as much as you possibly can to prepare for it. We put a brand new engine in a truck. Is it better to just buy a new truck? No, God, no. I mean, okay, let's play that out. The only way to buy a brand new truck would be to pay cash for it because debt is dumb and adds unreasonable amounts of risk to any business. Doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're a plumber or a truck driver, but a new truck. I mean, go to any dealer right now. Okay, and this because we run old trucks. I prefer old trucks. I personally prefer trucks built before 2007. That's 17 years ago. That's older than 2 of my kids, right? Going down to the dealership and walk in the waiting room and ask everybody what year their truck's in that's sitting there waiting on them to get worked on. You're not going to find somebody in there with an 06. Now, there was a dude came in to the shop, I don't know, it was a few months ago, driving a 92 Peterbilt dump truck. Runs it every day, and it's sharp. He's taking really, really, really good care of it. But he's got to come in and get brakes done and suspension parts and, different things get done on it, But we have to acknowledge a serious issue. My generation, Larry's generation, everybody knew a little bit about mechanical stuff, had some basic, at least very basic knowledge. Man, I got people today, they don't know headlight from a wheel seal. Like it just had absolutely no clue. And then they're like, oh, but if I buy a new truck, the new truck won't have problems. Well, scroll up through the comments on this TikTok and you'll see a guy talking about 2024's Freightliners having warped heads. We saw one. It's probably been
If new trucks didn't have problems, there wouldn't be. If new trucks didn't have problems, there wouldn't be service departments at dealerships.
Yeah. There was one on the lot. It's been 3 months ago, probably. And you take the oil cap off, and the blow by, I mean, was shooting 6 feet in the air out of the oil fill cap. And I don't know what was wrong with it, but it was junk. It had like 50,000 miles on it, and it was going to need a motor.
It's a myth to think that you can buy a new truck and not have mechanical issues. That's just a myth.
Right. And the saying they don't.
So why go pay $100,000 or more for a truck that's going to give you maintenance issues, as opposed to go spending $15,000 for a truck that's going to give you maintenance issues?
Right.
Because one of them's not going to nickel and dime you any more than the other one. All these are just myths.
Yeah.
That people who make these stupid decisions want you to believe. All these questions about Texas and all this other stuff, these are all answered by the calculator. Okay, get the calculator out and do the math, and the answers will be obvious to you. And nobody in no world does it make sense to go spend 150 grand for a piece of equipment that's going to break down over spending 15,000 for a piece of equipment that's going to break down. There's nowhere that answer is going to be the correct one, except in the mind of somebody who wants you, who's going to profit from asking you to make that decision.
I hate emissions controls. Shops hate emission controls. Drivers and owner operators hate emissions controls. You know who doesn't hate them?
The
The
government.
OEMs. The people making the trucks. They don't hate them because it's guaranteed business for them. They love it. They don't have a problem with it. You know, the government comes in and says, "Oh, you have to do this." Oh gosh, what a terrible. We'll have to double the prices of our trucks. How terrible. They don't hate it. It's the worst kind of collusion between corporation and state. And we all have to pay the price for it. It's, you know, I hate it with a passion. So anyway, covered up the happening here. 2.5 years in, a 2019 new to me truck replaced radiator, reservoir, starter, fan hub, turbo actuator, center bearing, EGR, air dryer, now in the shop for transmission problems. Ryan Judah on Facebook, do you think there's any benefit to pulling a Conestoga as a team over a company van? We both have years of experience with that. Oh, hell yeah, Ryan. Get you a Conestoga, brother. If you got a California legal truck and a Conestoga, buddy, let me promise you, you'll make double what you can make with a van. Well, I'm going to tell y'all this. It's been a long week and a long day. We're about an hour and a half in. Larry's got grandchildren to work with, so I'm going to bring things to a close. Hey, there's Steve Vest checking in on TikTok.
Hey, Steve. Listen to you today. Tell them about the step deck. That's just in case somebody wants a step deck.
We have a 51-foot step deck available for lease in Charleston. Send us an email. Or purchase. Yeah, you can buy it. So, you know, come by the shop or send us an email, loads@blueribbonlogistics.com. And we'll make you a deal because it's been sitting there and we just don't have a use for it. There's a bunch of y'all love step decks, so come and get it. I've got to get a thing welded on it. Then I'll take some pictures of it, put it on the face bag. Yeah, we got a 51. I think, let me think. It's 40 foot on the bottom, 11 on top, 51. It's a spread. So yeah, y'all want a step deck, holler at me. How much? What was it? 21,000? I think.
Yes. Well, it depends on how you're going to pay for it. You know, I mean, obviously, if you're going to pay cash, we probably could come off of that. But if we're going to do any kind of financing, or you're going to lease it and we're going to apply lease payments to it as ownership, then it's going to be different. But I would say somewhere between 15 and 20, depending on how you want to handle the financing.
It's I believe it's an 04 or 05. I think it's an 04. Can you elaborate more on the Conestoga in California? Well, we've been operating a Conestoga. Well, it's been almost 2 years now, I think.
Yep.
And it has consistently outperformed every other trailer except for the 53-foot flatbed. It's been pretty close. We've only had a California legal truck connected to it for a short period of time because we had a driver that lived in Denver. And y'all, She took a couple of loads to California in that thing, and holy crap. It was like $2,500 on top of the rate just for being a Conestoga. And it was already $4 a mile. I mean, it was so the Conestoga provides an extra level of service to the customer that is very, very valuable. So I'm a huge fan of a Conestoga
We
trailer.
just added a second Conestoga to our fleet.
Yeah, we've got a 53 Conestoga and a 48. So yeah, I am 100% on team Conestoga. Um, they are certified money making machines. Um, we have a driver who has been pulling a 53-foot flat. Well, he's still pulling a 53-foot flat, but his wife is going to join him, and they're going to kind of do super solo. But we put him in a California legal truck so that they could get more opportunities to do some of that stupid high dollar stuff that's out there. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's all about specialization. The more you specialize yourself, the more money you're going to make. But you got to be able to build the relationships that go with it, all that kind of stuff. But I'm a bit. Listen, I mean, we've got 7 trucks on the road, and 5 of them are, or is it 6? 5 of our 7 trucks are pulling platform now. Which is hilarious because when I met Larry Long, he said, "You won't ever catch one of my trucks pulling platform." Oh, how the wheels of life turn. All right, y'all. Well, I'm gonna make a
Well,
loop.
let's do a shameless plug before we leave here, Chris.
All right, go ahead.
Chris and I have several services that we offer. Obviously, the one that is the most, I think, attractive for people is the program where you come in, join our program, drive our equipment, and immerse yourself in our program where we teach you all these things that we do. We're kind of full right now. I don't know that we can actually take anybody, but the qualification process is a couple of months. I mean, who knows in a couple of months what's going to happen going through the holidays. We may have some people that are wrapping up the program. But the other thing we do is if you already own a truck and you want us to mentor you both in load station, operating the vehicle, business, accounting, all the things we do, we also have a mentoring service that we offer. And Chris is also has a dispatching service, and he can literally dispatch and manage you to get you successfully through the week. So you've delivered the load that he's found and booked. So anyway, all these are on our website, blueribbonlogistics.com. Check us out. And if you'd like for us to work with you one-on-one and help you improve your skill set in these areas, we're happy to do that. And we've got different ways to accommodate you, depending on your situation. The one thing we ask of you is to be coachable, be held accountable, and understand that we don't have time to dick around with stupiditudes. So if you're going to come here and be serious, we'd love to have you. If you're going to come here and tell us about how you've done things for all these 15, 20 years, and then you don't need us, okay? But anyway, go to our website, check out what we do. I'm also expanding my accounting clientele right now. We've got a little different approach we're going to take on that. But if you want some help with your bookkeeping or learning how to do your own bookkeeping, so you're not depending on somebody with 4 letters to do it for you, I'm going to give you a service with 5 letters, LLTBS, Larry Long's Trucking Business Service. And I'll teach you how to do it so that you don't need 4 or 5 letters. You can do it yourself, okay? But check us out. Chris, if you want to add anything to that, you're welcome
No, that's
to.
pretty much it. I mean, we've got a handful of drivers in the pipeline and trucks to put them in. But we're always talking to new people. So you can go to blueribbonlogistics.com, click on apply for the master class. We'll have an interview with you. Um, Um, so yeah, just everything's on the website. Go over there and have a look. We are in episode 224. So if you're new to us, there is plenty of content preceding this program that you can go and learn about everything that we're doing. So
All of our content on is free. We do charge money to help you implement this content. So these services I'm talking about do have fees at them, but the content is out there on YouTube and it is free. So you're welcome to absorb as much of the content you want. If you need help with the implementation, reach out to us and we will set up a time to talk to you and find out which of our services would fit your situation best.
yep. All right. Well, we'll see everybody next week. Should be 8:00 Friday night. And
I'll be back I'm in my studio at home, so I don't have all these issues. Okay.
all right. All right. We'll see everybody next week.
All right. Good night, everybody. Have a safe week. Okay. See you.